get that villain, Captain Hook. I'll slice him up and throw him to the...
They looked out at us from screens in our living rooms. They had the faces that America decided, in the collective way that America decides these things, were worth watching every week. Some of them were 7 years old. Some of them were 12. Some of them had already been performing for most of their short lives before anyone outside their hometowns had ever heard their names. The question of what happened to them afterward, once the show ended, once the studio moved on, once the world stopped paying attention, is one that tends not to get asked until it is too late. Today, we look at child actors from the 70s nobody talks about anymore, and why.
Stingy?
He's gone.
Gone? Then we gotta find him. Something might happen to him if he runs around loose.
Before there was a pattern recognized, there was Bobby Driscoll, and his story is where the pattern begins. He was 6 years old when a barber in Pasadena, whose son was in the movies, noticed him and suggested an audition. By 9, he was Walt Disney's personal favorite child actor, appearing in Song of the South and So Dear to My Heart. By 12, he had won a Juvenile Academy Award. By 16, he had voiced and served as the physical model for Peter Pan, the boy who never wanted to grow up. It was the most famous child role in the Disney library. A year after Peter Pan premiered, Disney terminated his contract. The official reason was acne. Driscoll couldn't get work. The child actor reputation followed him everywhere and blocked him from adult roles. He enrolled in public high school, where classmates mocked him for his film career. He started using heroin at 17 because, as he put it, I had the money to pay for it. Multiple arrests followed: drug possession, assault, forgery, a prison sentence, a short and final stay at Andy Warhol's factory, where he made one experimental film and disappeared into Manhattan. On March 30th, 1968, 2 children playing in an abandoned East Village tenement found his body on a cot. 2 empty beer bottles lay nearby, along with scattered religious pamphlets. He had died of heart failure caused by advanced atherosclerosis from long-time drug use. He had no identification. No one in the neighborhood recognized him. He was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave on Hart Island, New York City's Potter's Field, as a John Doe. He was 31 years old. A year and a half later, his mother, trying to find him so he could see his dying father, contacted Disney. A fingerprint match at the NYPD confirmed what had happened. Bobby Driscoll's body remained on Hart Island. His name appears on his father's gravestone in California. He is not there.
No, it's too embarrassing.
Oh, it wouldn't be. It would be nice and warm and friendly.
Well, you can do it.
She was 8 years old when she was cast as Buffy Davis on Family Affair, the CBS sitcom that ran from 1966 to 1971. The character was an orphan, a girl sent to live with her bachelor Uncle Bill after her parents died in a car accident. Anissa Jones played her for 5 seasons, carrying a doll named Mrs. Beasley almost everywhere the character went, appearing in every episode, working schedules that her co-star Kathy Garver later described as sometimes 7 days a week. During the final seasons, producers used chest binding to conceal the fact that Buffy was growing up, keeping the character frozen at an age the actress had long since outgrown.
Mean I can't be in the singing class? Gosh, Miss Cummings.
When the show ended in 1971, Anissa was 13. The industry had no idea what to do with a girl who had been Buffy for 5 years. She auditioned for The Exorcist and was turned down because the director couldn't imagine adorable little Buffy possessed by a demon. She auditioned for Taxi Driver and was turned down again. The Buffy image was not an asset, it was a wall. Her parents had divorced during the show's run. Her father died of heart disease in 1974, not long after being granted custody. She was sent to juvenile hall for a period after her mother reported her as a runaway. She dropped out of high school and worked briefly at a donut shop. In March 1976, she turned 18 and inherited approximately $180,000 in trust fund and savings bonds from her Family Affair earnings. Within 4 or 5 months, most of it was gone. On August 28, 1976, at a party in Oceanside, California, Anissa Jones died of a drug overdose. She was 18 years old. The coroner noted it was among the most massive overdoses he had recorded. Her brother Paul died of an overdose 8 years later, days after what would have been her 26th birthday.
Wilson, you shouldn't yell like that. You'll scare the birds.
Jay North was 7 years old when he was cast as Dennis Mitchell on Dennis the Menace in 1959. His hair was bleached platinum blonde for the role. The studio instructed him to shave a year off his age when speaking to the press. He was paid $500 per episode, rising to $3,500 by the final season. His mother worked full-time at AFTRA and arranged for his aunt and uncle to chaperone him on set. What happened on that set for 4 years was something North would not speak about publicly until 1993, 30 years after the show ended. His aunt, he explained in a detailed 1993 interview, was a precise and unyielding taskmaster who hit him when he made mistakes. Not in front of the cast. She was careful about that.
Up to her unrealistic expectation, she would hit me, physically abuse me. And I remember, I used to wake up every morning thinking, my God, do I have to spend another day with this woman? Because
in his dressing room in places where bruises wouldn't show. If it took me more than 1 or 2 takes, he said, I would be threatened and then whacked. When the show ended after 4 seasons in 1963, North was 11 years old and had not experienced anything resembling a normal childhood. He was brainwashed, as he put it, into pleasing adults at all times. He couldn't watch reruns of the show for decades because of what seeing them triggered in him. He joined the Navy. Servicemen recognized him and made his life difficult. He worked in health food stores. He gained weight. He went through 2 divorces. It was not until Paul Peterson, a former child actor himself who had founded a support organization called A Minor Consideration, connected him with a therapist that North began turning things around. He eventually moved to Florida and worked for years as a corrections officer in the juvenile justice system, helping troubled youth in a way that nobody had ever helped him. He died on April 6th, 2025, at the age of 73. He had been quietly fighting cancer for years.
Plane once, and she said, I know who you are, Miss Phillips. And I was like, I know who you are. I couldn't believe she knew who I was.
She was 13 when she was spotted by a casting agent at a school performance in 1972 and given an audition for George Lucas's American Graffiti. She had already been introduced to marijuana by her father, John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas, by that point. Cocaine followed by 11. She joined the cast of One Day at a Time in 1975, playing the rebellious teenage daughter, Julie Cooper, and quickly became one of the show's most popular characters. She was earning $50,000 a week. The show's producers later described her as extraordinarily talented. The problem was what was happening at home. Her father had been one of the most brilliant and most self-destructive figures of the 1960s music world, and his lifestyle continued at full velocity through the 1970s. Phillips has said publicly, in her 2009 memoir and in her appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, that her father injected her with cocaine when she was around the age when their family life was at its most chaotic. In her memoir, she wrote that she was first raped by her father in a hotel room at 18, and that what followed was a decade-long continuation involving 2 people whose addiction had destroyed their ability to make clear choices about anything. She was fired from One Day at a Time in 1980 when the producers could no longer absorb the disruption her drug use was causing. She returned in 1981 after treatment, collapsed on set in 1983, refused a drug test, and was fired permanently. She went to rehab 11 times over the following decades. By 2008, she was arrested at Los Angeles Airport for heroin and cocaine possession, on her way to a One Day at a Time reunion. She completed a diversion program, got sober, and built a career as a substance abuse counselor. She now works at a treatment center in Los Angeles and has said she is genuinely at peace. The industry that gave her a platform and gave her father access to her has not been asked in any organized way to account for what she went through.
They're trying, they're all trying to be an actor, they're trying to do something, and they're very frustrated, and there's a lot of people that use people, and you get caught up in all of this.
She was 13 years old when William Friedkin cast her as Regan McNeil in The Exorcist. The role required her to be strapped to a gyrating bed, to simulate being possessed by a demon, to speak lines in a voice that was later dubbed over but that she had to approximate in performance, and to work for months in conditions that the adults around her would later describe as genuinely difficult. The Exorcist was released in December 1973 and immediately became one of the most commercially successful films in history. Blair won a Golden Globe for her performance and was nominated for an Academy Award. She was 14 by the time the film came out. For a brief period, she was one of the most talked about young actresses in Hollywood. The word being used most often was disturbing, which is a complicated kind of compliment to receive at 13.
Can you verify that this was the person? It's not always true. For me, they always say that young people are very aware if there's anything odd that's going on. I never felt anything weird went on the set. When the set burned down.
The offers that came in afterward were not serious, dramatic parts. They were variations on what The Exorcist had already established. She was the girl who could be possessed, the dark figure in a teenage body. In 1977, at 17, she was arrested for conspiracy to distribute cocaine. She pleaded no contest, received a sentence of probation and community service. The headlines were unkind. She made films throughout the 1980s, most of them low budget, most of them quickly forgotten. She became an activist for animal rights, which became the work she is most consistently associated with now. If her name comes up today, it is usually in the context of the 1973 film. 50 years of cultural conversation in which she functions mostly as a special effect rather than a person. She has spoken about what it was like to be a child asked to perform what the film required of her. "I didn't understand the impact of what I was doing," she has said. "I didn't fully understand what the film was about." She was 13. This is not especially surprising.
I am inventing a new cereal that combines all the miracle nutritional values of 3 of nature's most esteemed grains, understand?
Danny Thomas later called him the best boy actor he had ever seen in his life. Great memory, perfect timing, the ability to adjust to a last-minute line change and come right back without losing a beat. Rusty Hamer played Rusty Williams, Thomas's wisecracking TV son, for 11 seasons of Make Room for Daddy, later The Danny Thomas Show, from 1953 to 1964. 351 episodes. He was 6 years old when it started. His own father died early in the show's run, and Thomas later wrote that Hamer had come to him one day, thrown his arms around him and said, weeping, "You're the only daddy I have now." The show ended when Hamer was 17. He had no discernible job skills and no clear path into adult roles. He tried to launch a singing career. His single went nowhere. He worked for a messenger service. He was a carpenter's apprentice. He worked on oil rigs for Exxon in Louisiana. He delivered newspapers. He worked as a short-order cook in his brother's cafe. He reunited with Thomas and the cast for various specials. There was a brief comeback attempt in a 1970s sequel series that lasted 1 season. But the adult Rusty Hamer was not what the industry had any use for. He retreated into a trailer home in DeRidder, Louisiana, and into a depression that deepened over the years into something that allowed no way through. On January 18, 1990, his brother John found Rusty Hamer's body in the trailer. He had died by his own hand. He was 42 years old. No public service was held. His ashes were later scattered at sea alongside those of Tommy Rettig, who had played Timmy's predecessor on Lassie and who died in 1996. The news of Hamer's death was a shock to Danny Thomas, who said it was one of the saddest days of his life. It was also the event that prompted a former child actor named Paul Peterson, who had played Jeff Stone on The Donna Reed Show, to found A Minor Consideration, an organization still active today that advocates for the welfare of child performers and helps former child stars navigate what comes after.
Oh, that's what it is. So you didn't know, right? Well, I mean, I knew, but... You ever seen one? Sure. Lots of times.
She was in her first television commercial at 4 months old. By the early 1970s, she was a fixture of American children's television, playing the youngest daughter in Nanny and the Professor, appearing in Escape to Witch Mountain and Return from Witch Mountain, guest starring on Gunsmoke, Hawaii Five-0, and virtually every major television series of the decade. She was the pretty blonde child who looked naturally innocent on camera, and directors cast her accordingly. Her sister Kyle was also acting. Their mother managed both their careers. They were, in the language of that industry, working kids. By the early 1980s, the work had slowed, and by the mid-1980s, the trajectory of her personal life had become the dominant story. She struggled with alcohol throughout her adulthood. In 1991, her fiancé John Collett was assassinated while she was on the phone with him. He had been involved in financial dealings that had made powerful people very angry. She heard the gunshots. The trauma she carried from that moment never left her in any way that was visible from the outside. She resurfaced publicly in 2010 as one of the original cast members of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, where her erratic behavior and obvious struggles with alcohol played out in front of the cameras she had stood in front of since infancy.
I'm an alcoholic. And I drink.
It was a different kind of celebrity than the one she had started with, the celebrity of watching someone struggle rather than watching someone perform. She has since spoken about her recovery. She is still alive, but the distance between the pretty child in Escape to Witch Mountain and the woman on The Real Housewives is a distance that raises questions the show never thought to ask. She was 9 years old when she was cast as Lucy McFadden, the sharp and self-possessed daughter in Herbert Ross's 1977 film, The Goodbye Girl. Her scenes with Richard Dreyfuss were small but precise, a child who watched adults with a clear and slightly judgmental eye, and they earned her an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. She was 10 years old at the time of the nomination.
It's not just the words I use. They make fun of the way I talk, the way I think, the way I look, everything.
She was the third youngest person ever nominated in a competitive Oscar category. Hollywood immediately made itself available to her. The offers came in, the attention was intense, and her mother, who had managed her career with a certain amount of caution up to that point, began to navigate the pressure of a child suddenly in extreme demand. Quinn Cummings made a few more films. She joined the cast of the television series Family as a regular from 1977 to 1983. She made some guest appearances, and then in her early 20s she stopped. She walked away from the career, from the industry, from the world that had nominated her for an Oscar while she was still in elementary school. She became a blogger, then an author, then a tech entrepreneur. She invented a useful baby product that she manufactured and sold herself. She wrote with wit and honesty about her earlier life, about what it was like to be a child in that world, and what it cost to step out of it. In interviews, she has been warmly funny about the whole arc. She did not go to pieces. She simply chose something different. She is one of the handful of cases in this story where the ending is not tragic, and it is worth noting that the reason her ending is different may have something to do with the fact that she made the decision herself, on her own terms, while she was still young enough to build a life that was entirely hers.
It's true. And sometimes it was difficult for him to communicate exactly what his way was. He knew what he didn't want, but he had a hard time conveying what he did want to us.
He was 12 years old when he was cast as Charlie Bucket in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in 1971. And he had never acted in a film before. He had not acted in anything before. He had been spotted in a local theater production and given an audition, and the producers decided that his inexperience was an asset rather than a liability. That the openness and genuine bewilderment of a kid who had never been in front of a professional camera would translate to the openness and genuine bewilderment of Charlie walking into Wonka's factory. Gene Wilder took him under his wing on the set and showed him how things worked. The film was made, it was released, and then, as Peter Ostrum turned 13, he was offered a 3-film studio contract. He turned it down. He did not want to be an actor. He wanted to be a veterinarian. He had known this for some time, and the Willy Wonka experience, as wonderful as it had been, did not change it. He went back to school. He studied biology. He studied animal science. He earned a degree. He became a veterinarian in New York State, specializing in large animals, cows, horses, the animals of working farms. And he practiced quietly and contentedly for decades. For years, he kept his Charlie bucket past almost entirely private. If anyone in his community recognized him, he would say it was his brother. He eventually became more open about it, showing up at screenings and fan events, talking to interviewers with the same unaffected good humor that had made his performance work in the first place. He has said the film was a genuinely happy experience and that he has no regrets about the direction he chose. It is a rare thing in this genre of story. A child who was given exactly the right amount of fame at exactly the right age, made a clear decision about what he wanted his life to be, and then went and had it.
The winner is...
Tatum O'Neal.
She was 10 years old when she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Paper Moon, the 1973 Peter Bogdanovich film, in which she played a Depression-era child con artist opposite her real father, Ryan O'Neal. She became the youngest competitive Oscar winner in history, a record she still holds. The performance was remarkable, fast, cynical, warm where the script needed it, fundamentally assured in a way that made you forget you were watching a child. Her childhood was not particularly well suited to producing a fundamentally assured person. Ryan O'Neal was a charismatic and volatile figure, whose treatment of his children was erratic at best. Tatum O'Neal has written and spoken in detail about the neglect and instability of her early years, about being largely left to fend for herself in a household that moved quickly and cared about different things than parental consistency. She was drinking and using drugs by her early teens. She married John McEnroe in 1986 and had 3 children with him before their divorce in 1994. Her adult years have been marked by ongoing battles with addiction that have been covered by the tabloid press with a thoroughness that tends to reduce a complicated life to its most dramatic moments. She is still alive. She has been candid in later years about the cost of being the youngest Oscar winner in history, about what it meant to reach the summit of her industry at 10 and spend the next 50 years navigating the terrain on the other side of it. She has said she loved the work. She has also said that no one around her was equipped to protect her from what came with it, including her father, who collected the Oscar statuette from the stage after she accepted it and held on to it for years. She eventually got it back. The industry that made these children famous moved on from them quickly. It always does. The shows end, the films complete their theatrical runs, the syndication checks decrease, and the world turns its attention to whoever is next. What tends not to be asked in that transition is what it is like to be 7 or 10 or 13, and to have already been a public figure for years, and to suddenly find that the structure that gave your days their shape has simply removed itself. Some of these people found their way through, some did not. A few, Bobby Driscoll, Anissa Jones, Rusty Hamer, did not survive long enough to find anything. The ones who did survive have mostly built lives at a significant distance from the entertainment industry, which is perhaps the most honest possible verdict on what that industry offered them. The image stays. The person has to live somewhere else. Which of these stories surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments. And if you want to keep looking behind the images that defined our childhoods, subscribing keeps you with us.